Hey, you. Welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today, we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence: why she pulls away when she starts catching feelings. The real reason, let's get into it. The moment she starts caring is the moment she begins to disappear. And the more you lean in, confused and desperate for answers, the further she drifts. You think it doesn't make sense. If she likes you, why would she pull away? If the connection is real, why does she suddenly become distant, slower to reply, colder in tone, harder to reach? Listen to me carefully. When a woman begins catching real feelings, she doesn't feel excitement first. She feels risk. Men fall in love like stepping forward. Women fall in love like stepping off a cliff. And the cliff isn't romance, it's vulnerability. When she starts imagining you in her future, when your voice becomes comfort, when your absence creates anxiety, that's when her survival instincts activate. Not because she doesn't like you, but because she finally does. You were safe when you were just fun. You were safe when you were just flirting. You were safe when nothing mattered. But the second you matter, the game changes. A woman who's emotionally intelligent understands something most men overlook. Attachment equals power, and power in the wrong hands equals pain. So what does she do? She pulls back to see if you chase from need or stand from strength. This is the test men fail without realizing they're being tested. You start texting more. You start over-explaining. You ask, "Is everything okay?" You panic when she takes longer to reply. Your energy shifts from confident to cautious, from grounded to grasping, and she feels it. Women are hyper-attuned to emotional shifts. When your confidence turns into validation seeking, she doesn't feel safer, she feels pressure. Understand this. When she pulls away, she is not asking you to convince her. She is watching to see if you can handle emotional tension without losing yourself. Because if you collapse under uncertainty now, what happens when real challenges come later? When a woman starts catching feelings, her mind runs scenarios you'll never hear about. What if he changes? What if he leaves? What if I give more than I get? What if I lose myself? These fears don't come from weakness, they come from experience. Most women have been hurt not when they didn't care, but when they cared too much. So she slows down. She recalibrates. She creates space not to end it, but to observe it. And here's where men misunderstand everything. You interpret distance as rejection. She experiences distance as protection. You think she's losing interest. She's actually measuring emotional safety. If she didn't care, she wouldn't pull away strategically. She would fade casually. There's a difference. Indifference looks effortless. Emotional caution looks calculated. When she starts taking longer to respond, when she becomes slightly less available, when her warmth fluctuates, she's not detaching emotionally, she's regulating emotionally. She wants to see if your attention is stable or conditional. If you punish her space with insecurity, she sees a future full of emotional chaos. If you respect her space with composure, she sees strength, and strength is safety. Men believe intensity secures attraction, but stability sustains it. The irony: the more you panic, the more she withdraws. The calmer you become, the more she leans back in. Because she isn't testing your love, she's testing your emotional leadership. And emotional leadership isn't dominance, it's composure under uncertainty. The moment she feels herself slipping into deeper emotion, she doesn't want fireworks. She wants reassurance without words. She wants to see that you can remain steady even when the emotional weather changes. So if she's pulling away right now, don't assume you're losing her. Ask yourself something harder. Are you reacting from fear or responding from strength? When she pulls back, it's not always about you. It's about the war happening inside her that you can't see. You see silence. She feels exposure. There's a moment in every woman's emotional journey with a man where the excitement shifts into something heavier. It stops being, this is fun, and starts becoming, this could hurt. And that shift is terrifying because once she starts picturing you in her real life, not just her weekends, not just her phone screen, you become a potential loss. And human beings protect themselves from potential loss more aggressively than they pursue potential gain. So what does she do? She regains control, not by arguing, not by confessing fear, not by explaining vulnerability, but by adjusting her availability. She may text less, she may cancel once, she may suddenly seem busy, she may soften her affection slightly. It's not punishment, it's calibration. Women don't detach when they feel nothing. They detach when they feel too much, because strong emotion without security feels dangerous. And here's what most men do wrong in this phase. They try to increase pressure, more calls, more compliments, more reassurance seeking, more emotional intensity. But pressure doesn't create safety. It creates overwhelm. When she senses that your emotional state depends on her consistency, she feels responsible for your stability. And responsibility too early in a connection feels heavy. She wants a partner, not a project. You have to understand something subtle. A woman falling for you wants to know two things. Will he stay consistent when emotions fluctuate? Will he still be himself if I step back? When you chase harder, the second she pulls away, it signals scarcity. It tells her that her attention controls your emotional center. That's not attractive. That's fragile. And fragility makes her nervous. She doesn't want to walk on eggshells around your expectations. She wants to feel chosen, not required. So when she pulls back, she is unconsciously asking, is he strong enough to let me breathe? Breathing space isn't distance, it's emotional oxygen. If she feels suffocated by constant monitoring, why are you quiet? Did I do something? Are we okay? Her nervous system shifts into avoidance mode. But if she feels your presence without pressure, something powerful happens. She relaxes because your calm signals abundance, and abundance signals security. Let me tell you something men rarely hear. When a woman begins to care deeply, she becomes more observant, not less. She watches how you handle ambiguity. She watches how you react to delays. She watches how you treat your own time. If you drop everything for her unpredictability, she subconsciously lowers her respect. Not because she wants you to ignore her, but because she wants to know you have a life that doesn't collapse without her. Attraction thrives in mutual desire, not emotional dependency. And here's the deeper psychological truth. When she pulls away, she's not asking, will he chase me? She's asking, will he remain grounded? Because grounded men feel safe. Grounded men don't spiral. Grounded men don't beg for reassurance. Grounded men don't interpret every mood shift as abandonment. They understand emotional waves, and women move in waves. Some days she will be warm. Some days she will be reflective. Some days she will be quieter. That doesn't mean her feelings disappeared. It means her emotional processing is active. If you can stay consistent through her fluctuations, she associates you with stability. And stability is rare. Most men react, and few men respond. Reaction is fear-based, response is strength-based, and she can feel the difference instantly. So the next time she pulls back slightly, instead of asking, why is she losing interest? Ask something more powerful. Am I secure enough to let this breathe without trying to control it? There's something no one tells men about female attachment. When she starts catching real feelings, she doesn't just evaluate you, she evaluates herself. You think she's questioning the relationship. Sometimes she's questioning her own emotional safety. Because when a woman begins to care deeply, she becomes aware of how much influence you now have over her mood, her thoughts, her peace. And that realization is unsettling. She doesn't like feeling out of control. The confident, independent woman you met, she still exists. But when she starts imagining losing you, that independence feels threatened, not because you took it, but because attachment naturally shifts priorities. So she pulls back to re-enter. This isn't manipulation. It's regulation. She might take longer to open up. She might stop sharing certain emotions temporarily. She might act slightly more guarded than before. And you interpret it as coldness. But what's really happening is internal calibration. She's asking herself, am I choosing him because he's right for me or because I'm afraid to lose the attention? Do I genuinely trust him or am I getting carried away? Is he consistent or just exciting? Women don't just fall in love with chemistry, they fall in love with emotional safety. And safety requires evidence. So when she pulls back, she's gathering evidence. She's observing your patience. She's observing your reactions. She's observing whether your behavior changes when access to her becomes less predictable. Because many men perform confidence until comfort sets in. Many men are attentive until validation feels secured. She knows this, so she tests consistency without announcing the test. And here's where most men sabotage themselves. The moment her energy shifts, your tone changes. You become slightly more serious, slightly more needy, slightly more urgent. You start trying to fix something that isn't broken, and she feels that shift like a temperature change in the room. Women are emotionally intuitive. They sense when your confidence is conditional. If your warmth depends on her constant reassurance, she starts questioning long-term stability. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for steadiness. Understand this clearly. Attraction grows in emotional space, not emotional pressure. When she begins caring deeply, she wants to see that you don't panic when intimacy deepens. Because deeper intimacy always comes with vulnerability, and vulnerability requires emotional strength on both sides. If you rush to close the gap every time she creates space, you communicate fear of loss. And fear of loss signals insecurity. Insecurity makes her feel like she has to manage your emotions along with her own. That's exhausting. What she truly wants in that moment is silent reassurance. Not through words like, I promise I won't hurt you, but through behavior like, I am consistent, calm, and grounded regardless of temporary distance. Consistency builds trust faster than intensity ever will. And when she sees that her brief withdrawal doesn't shake your identity, something powerful happens inside her. She relaxes into her feelings instead of fighting them, because now the risk feels smaller. She realizes he's not reacting, he's steady. And steadiness feels masculine in the deepest psychological sense, not dominance, not control, but emotional containment. Containment means you can hold uncertainty without exploding. It means you don't demand clarity every time emotions fluctuate. It means you trust the process instead of chasing reassurance. When she starts catching feelings, she doesn't need you to prove you care more. She needs you to prove you can handle caring at all. So instead of asking why is she pulling away, consider something more uncomfortable. Are you responding to her distance with confidence, or are you revealing that her attention is the only thing stabilizing you? Here's the truth that almost no man understands. When she pulls away, she isn't rejecting you. She's signaling a deeper level of attraction than you realize. Because attraction isn't just about desire, it's about emotional trust. And trust is earned in tension, not in comfort. When a woman starts catching feelings, every interaction becomes a mini assessment. Every pause, every delayed text, every subtle shift in tone is data. And she's scanning it all, not to play games, not to manipulate, but to determine if you can truly handle her depth. Think about it. A woman who feels safe doesn't disappear. A woman who disappears. She's unsure whether safety exists. Her mind runs in loops you'll never hear. What if I open up too much and he isn't steady? What if I show him my heart and it becomes a burden? What if his attention is conditional on my energy and enthusiasm? She pulls back to find answers to these questions. And here's the kicker. She is evaluating you while feeling deeply. She doesn't want you to chase. She wants you to anchor. Most men misread this instinctively. They respond to distance with chasing. They send more texts. They try to explain. They overcompensate with reassurance. And every overcompensation pushes her further because the very thing she's testing your ability to remain stable under uncertainty is being undermined. You see, when a woman pulls back, she's revealing something profound. She's invested enough to fear losing control. That fear isn't a red flag. It's a green light that she sees potential for something real. Now, here's what separates men who succeed from men who fail. The successful man understands that emotional pacing is everything. He understands that she isn't pushing you away. She's creating space for both of you to adjust. Space is not rejection. Space is opportunity. It allows her to feel safe while testing your consistency. It allows her to reconcile excitement with caution. It allows her to trust that you won't crumble if she steps away. So what do you do when she pulls away? You don't plead. You don't chase. You don't beg for clarity. You don't overanalyze her actions. You stay grounded. You live your life fully. You remain steady, confident, and composed. You show her without words that your stability isn't dictated by her attention, because when she sees a man who remains himself in the face of her emotional withdrawal, she relaxes, she leans in, she allows herself to experience vulnerability without fear. And this is where men get it completely wrong. They mistake temporary withdrawal for disinterest. They panic. And their panic erodes the very attraction they hope to maintain. Attraction thrives in mystery, space, and emotional composure. When you provide these, you create a magnetic pull she cannot resist. Think of it like this. She's drawn to your stability like a moth to light. She's evaluating whether your emotional flame burns consistently or flickers at the slightest breeze. If your flame wavers, she retreats further. If it burns steadily, she begins to trust. And trust is what transforms fleeting interest into deep attachment. So when she pulls back next time, don't interpret it as a loss. Interpret it as a test of character, a test that when passed will pull her closer than ever before. And here's the hardest part. The test is silent. She won't tell you. She won't ask. She won't explain. She simply observes. Your response, calm, consistent, composed, speaks louder than any words. She wants to see that your identity doesn't collapse in the face of uncertainty. That you can tolerate tension without becoming needy. That you can remain the man she can trust with her heart. Because if you can do that, you don't just survive her pulling away. You thrive. And when she finally leans in fully, it's not because you chased her back. It's because you proved without saying a word that you are unshakable, and unshakable men are irresistible. Now think carefully. Are you unshakable? Here's the final truth most men never understand. When she pulls away, it's not a reflection of her feelings for you. It's a reflection of her need to feel secure in them. She isn't testing your love. She's testing your stability. She isn't trying to push you out. She's trying to see if you'll stay in without being asked. And this is where most men fail. They think intensity wins hearts, when in reality, restraint and composure create unbreakable attraction. The moment she begins catching real feelings, she starts scanning for reliability. She's subconsciously asking, if life gets messy, will he crumble or will he hold himself? She wants proof, not promises. She wants action, not words. She wants to know that you can withstand the uncertainty that comes with caring for someone deeply. This is why men who panic when she pulls back immediately lower their value. Every anxious text, every desperate call, every over-explained sentiment signals dependency. It tells her that her attention is the source of your stability. And when that happens, attraction doesn't grow, it erodes. Instead, the man who masters this stage acts differently. He respects her space while remaining present. He lives his life fully without allowing her temporary withdrawal to destabilize him. He demonstrates that he is anchored in his own worth, independent of her reactions. And here's the psychological twist most men never see. Women don't pull away because they want to. They pull away because they need to. They need to feel safe enough to trust their hearts without fear. They need to know that attachment doesn't equal entrapment, that closeness won't mean chaos, that love doesn't have to be a roller coaster of insecurity. If you can provide that silently through consistency, calm, and presence, she will begin to lean in naturally. She will start sharing more. She will start laughing more. She will start letting her walls down piece by piece because she knows you aren't going anywhere, even when she steps back. Understand this deeply. Women are instinctively drawn to strength, but not arrogance, to security, but not control, to consistency, but not predictability in the sense of dullness. The pull and release phase is not a game. It's a test of your ability to remain anchored when emotions fluctuate. Most men fail because they view withdrawal as a rejection. But withdrawal is an opportunity, an invitation to demonstrate emotional resilience, to show that your life, your confidence, and your identity are unshakable. She wants to see that you can hold space for her feelings without being consumed by them. This is why so many men who succeed in love never appear desperate. They never panic when distance occurs. They never overcompensate when attention wavers. They simply exist with strength, patience, and composure. And women can feel that at a cellular level. When you achieve this, the relationship moves from fragile attraction to real connection. She starts trusting you with her emotions. She begins allowing herself to feel without fear. And every step she takes back, every pause becomes a step forward in intimacy because she knows she can rely on your stability. So now I have a question for you, a challenge that separates men who understand from men who react. If emotional intensity equals 10 and emotional composure equals 50, how much of your energy are you giving to her fear versus your own groundedness? Write the answer in the comments. Like this video if you feel this insight. Subscribe for more truths most men never hear, and share this with a friend who needs to understand why she pulls away when she starts catching feelings. Because this knowledge isn't just theory. It's the difference between losing her and becoming the man she can never stop thinking.